She's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, and with me is my special guest, the host of the Cue It Up podcast, Mr. Neight Mindham. Nate, how you doing, man?
I am very happy that pool is a degenerative sport that doesn't have to do all of this beautiful editing and all this amazing, like, all I got to do is just show up and talk, and I'm already ahead of the entire industry. So,
yeah,
man, this is way more professional than I'm used to. This is incredible. An intro.
Yeah.
And excitement. What is that?
Yeah, exactly. We have to do something for all the YouTube video listeners and everything like that. Little animation, everything, everything going. But Nate, you talked about pool billiards. Just before we get started with everything, you want to just let the people know how to follow you, and also just a little bit about the Cue It Up podcast that you host.
Yeah, sure. So, well, we are the Cue It Up Network on Facebook, Instagram. I don't really do much on Instagram. I mean, it's so hard to do social media. It sucks so much. It's just so toxic.
It's so hard.
But, yeah, I'm in YouTube. We got Cue It Up Network, and yeah, we have the number one pool podcast in the world by a little bit of a margin. We do podcasts once to twice a week. And we talk about everything that is pool and billiards, and, well, really just pool. Billiards is a different game. We talked about that a little bit before we got on here. We talk about pocket pool, which is, the game that you and your buddies go down to the bar on Fridays and Saturday nights and bang balls around and try to make the women think you're so cool because you can hit the balls really hard into the pocket sometimes. And
all the time. We
cover it professionally. So I'm an ex-semi-professional pool player, I would say. I kind of getting back into playing a little bit now, back into my actual career. And mostly that's just because I have a little bit more time. I do this full time, so I have a little bit of a window to where I can, kind of get into my own career and bang balls around and try to make the girls think I'm really cool, that stuff.
You still do that even though you're a married man, it's,
just
take it off real quick. Yeah, no. But yeah, so also, how did you kind of get started into billiards, into pool? Because, back in the day when we were hanging out at bars, you would always just flock straight to the pool table. What got you kind of interested, and why start up this network that's now the number one pool network?
Yeah, so, well, I've always played. My family played. My mother, my father, my grandma, my grandpa, my uncles, my cousins, everybody used to play. They were, some of them were pretty good players. They were good regional players in our area. I kind of got to a new level, of course. I started when I was 5. By, I think, 18, I was second in the country for under 18. In college, I played in college for a little while. I played for the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which I graduated from. I wasn't really playing much in college, but I was collegiately ranked number 4 during my pretty much entire stint there. And the 3 people that were ahead of me, one of them is now a top 50 player in the country. One of them is number 2 in Singapore, and the other one hasn't hit a ball since, I'm pretty sure, and he could still drill just about anybody in the world. He's like so talented, it's gross. It's like watching Joe Burrow throw the ball. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
We'll get into football eventually, but it's like Joe Burrow, when you just see him throw the ball, it's just like, that guy's special. Like, whatever you want to say about his cigars and, his kind of like, the dude throws a really special football, and that's like this guy. It's just a different player. So,
yeah,
I guess I got out of college. I tried to get back into the game a little bit more. And I come from a pretty poor family, so pool was always actually like a job to me. Like, if I wanted to have spending money as like a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old or even a 22-year-old, if I wanted to pay my rent in college, I went out and played pool and won some money. And when I didn't need the money, I wouldn't play. So once I got out of college, I landed a job that was pretty lucrative, and money didn't mean anything to me anymore. I had plenty of it, and I'm going to these tournaments and I'm playing still, but it's like I'm not there for the money. So it's like the losses, I'm still an ultra competitive person, so it's like the losses still hurt just as much, but the wins didn't mean anything because the money was like, okay, sweet, I just won $2,000 in a weekend, and that's like, a week's worth of pay. It's like, all right, well, that's not really, what am I really doing this for? If the losses hurt 10 times as much, or I guess the losses hurt as much as they always have, and the wins don't mean anything. So it's like I fell out of love with the playing the game, and I just kind of like, I still had the love for the game. I just didn't have the love for the competing part of it. So I repurposed my passions, my desires towards the actual promotion of the game, because podcasts weren't very popular, believe it or not. Not many people care about pool, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe, but
yeah.
but yeah, so I switched over to the podcasting part of it, and believe it or not, there was a market for it. So here I am, I guess almost 4 years later, still doing it. So
yeah, that's crazy. I remember when you started it up too, because like I was playing some music. You'd come over to the shows, we'd hang out, and you'd always be by the pool table with like dollars on the table and running it up. But it's awesome to see just how much it's grown. So yeah, definitely anyone listening, check out the Cue It Up network. It's really cool to just see a lot of the live events that you guys put on too. So just absolutely cool. But shifting sports over to football. So the topic of discussion, why we have you here, Nate, is we need an unbiased or somewhat unbiased opinion about the Chicago Bears, because we're feeling good. A lot of us are like, okay, we just saw Joe Burrow take this huge step. So can Justin Fields take the step? Can we be the Bengals of this year or like this new year and potentially make the Super Bowl? And you're going to either crush our dreams or just reinforce it. So before we get into that, speaking of crushing our dreams, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan that has a Mr. Mahomes. I just got to ask, how is it being a Kansas City Chiefs fan? I think we look at it as everything is sweet, everything is awesome. Is it in Chiefs Kingdom?
Whew. Well, it was a lot easier a year ago this time. Let's put it that way. A lot easier a year ago. But at the end of the day, like you're gonna go as far as your quarterback will take you. And of course, we're gonna get into this with Justin Fields very soon. But I know that Patrick Mahomes just signed a 10-year, $500 million deal last offseason. We're set for 9 years now. Are we going to be able to keep? Tyreek Hill for his next deal? Travis Kelce, even somebody like a McCole Hardman, who's, you want to talk about Tyreek Hill. Of course, he's like the fastest guy in the league, and it's probably not even close. But McCole Hardman, that dude can giddy up and scoot too.
Yeah.
Pringle, he's, whatever. He's a replacement guy. But really, I think really it comes down to like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Can you keep those guys? And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't think he's that much better than any sort of replacement running back. He reminds me a little bit actually of like a Tyreek Cohen. Tyreek Cohen's a little bit more elusive, but
Yep.
Yeah. He's like a guy that like you'd like to have him on your team, but if he's not around, it's just like, am I really losing anything?
That's the thing that it always seems like with the Chiefs running backs too, is there's anybody that's back there seems to do well. Like from fantasy football, it's like anybody that's back there, you would usually pick up.
Actually, ironically, until Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because I had him this year, and I'll tell you, a lot of disappointing starts for me.
Yeah, he did get injured for a couple weeks, but even when he got injured, he wasn't really putting up any numbers. Damian Williams, was it Damian Williams? Yeah, Damian Williams.
Yep.
He was a great running back. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually sat out 2 years ago, the COVID year. I think he actually sat out. I think I'm probably going to get this wrong, and maybe if I get it wrong, make sure to blow up his Twitter, not mine. But I'm pretty sure that he has like a mother that he takes care of that's immunocompromised or something like that, and he didn't want to risk any sort of thing, so he actually sat out the COVID year. And when he came back, like I think he's actually playing for the Bears now, right?
There you go. Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal, so now we're going to see where he ends up. But he was solid for us. He just kind of performed decently, like as you would expect.
Well, he wasn't vaccinated, right? And then he, like when your running back went down, he was the first person to take over, and he played one game phenomenally, right? And then he got COVID, and then I didn't see his name again.
Yeah, because then after that, yeah, exactly. The rookie came in, and all of a sudden, Khalil Herbert was then the guy that was just running up the stat sheet. And then after that, they're like, should we even play this guy anymore? Because we really shouldn't. And yeah, then after
yeah.
that, he was just
like 3 carries or something like that the next game. I know because I had him in fantasy. And I got a little like spoiled with the first game that he played. He had like, I think a couple touchdowns. I think he didn't have a lot of yards, but he had a couple touchdowns.
It was against the Raiders or something. Like he had the spin move and like touchdown, and he had a handful. Yeah. But also just as a Chiefs fan, I just have to ask, because I want to know, as someone who can actually pass the ball and score and has a good head coach, after you guys lose, is it really just like, let's burn it all to the ground? Because every time that the Bears lose, the fandom is just, we have to get rid of everybody. Everything has to burn. Everything is going crazy. What about for the Chiefs?
Well, before I answer that question, you preface this with having a good coach. Does that mean we don't like Matt Eberflus? What do we hate him already? Is that where we're at?
Well, now we're getting more optimistic about him. So it's not like we wish we would have rather had Andy Reid. If we could have Andy Reid, here you have a potential Hall of Fame head coach versus Matt Eberflus.
Potential.
Yeah,
potential. Stop it, you.
Let's just take that word out.
You. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's been to 57 AFC, NFC championships, 2 Super Bowls. He's a Hall of Fame He's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah. So Hall of Fame coach. And
so I guess it's been, I guess to answer your question, it's been so long since the Chiefs have we're spoiled, right? I mean, we've been really spoiled basically since Alex Smith came over from the 49ers. I mean, when was that? That had to have been 2013, 2014, something like that. I mean, it seems right. I don't think we've had a losing season since he came over, and I think we've had a couple of 14-2s, a lot of 10-6s. Plenty of them in that area. I think there was a stretch where there was 3 years where the Chiefs did not lose a single game in division. 3 years. That's 18-0 in division in over 3 years. And I think the next year they lost to the Raiders once. And then the next years they lost to the Chargers once. So you're basically talking about 28-2 over a course of 5 years. I mean, that's just sick. I mean, it
must be nice.
It's been a while.
Be nice.
I mean, honestly, it's been a while since we've had any sort of season that is worth ignoring. It's sorry. Every single year. I mean, I said this earlier on, Patrick Mahomes just signed a 10-year deal. So, I mean, unless he gets decapitated tomorrow, every single year, this will make the Bears fans happy. I mean, it's like Aaron Rodgers. Sure, Aaron Rodgers is going to win the division every single year, and that's great, and that's fine, and that's dandy. But good and darn well that he's going to be choking once it comes to that first or second round of the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, it's as a Chiefs fan, I don't have to worry about that. If we lose a game, it's certainly not because Patrick Mahomes didn't show up. And if it did, it's because he's running for his life, like in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. I mean, he ran for his life.
Yeah. So because you guys have the
against the Buccaneers. Sorry, against the
it's got to be hard remembering Super Bowls like that. We just go, oh yeah, we got the Colts one 20 years ago, and but for that though. Because with that loss, it was offensive line. You're kind of coming away with it. It's the offensive line's fault. This year, was there a feeling of we have to blame something, or was it just, hey, we lost?
I mean, I left that thinking Joe Burrow's a bad brother. That's what I mean. Honestly, that's what I left it at.
Yeah.
Now, and to be honest, I heard a stat it's the last 8 weeks of the season or something like that. The Bengals didn't give up over 21 points or 22 points or something like that. I mean, that defense is sneaky, really good.
They came on. Yeah.
You would never know this watching Eli Apple get torched by Cooper Kupp every other play in the Super Bowl, but
he's pissed. I don't know if you saw his Twitter today. He's fed up with everybody just ripping on him. And it's yeah, I get it. You were doing decent, and then you just get roasted during the Super Bowl in front of millions. Yeah. What are you going to do?
I mean, we're judged by our biggest moments, right? I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Eli Apple, if you ever see this, if it makes you feel any better, I've played for 6 national championships. I've lost every single one of them in particularly terrible fashion. Like when the biggest moments come around, I choke too. I am a donkey just like you are. So don't feel bad. Like I feel you. I relate to you. I'm there. It's okay.
Just take the burnt toast,
least,
all the stuff.
At least you're not a giant anymore. I mean,
yeah. You made it. Yeah, you made it to a Super Bowl. Like, get happy about that. You hoisted the AFC trophy. Yeah. You beat the Chiefs, and you're a millionaire.
It's the second greatest accomplishment of your career to get to a Super Bowl. The first is getting away from the Giants.
Yeah. Just getting away from New York in general. Jets, Giants, doesn't matter. Just
you want to, and don't even get it started on the Knicks.
Ooh.
It's tough to be a New York fan right now.
Yeah, and I can't.
Yankees get taken out by the Red Sox.
I just gotta say, like, just New York in general. I think it's one of those frustrating things, like not being in New York and it being like the media capital of the world. Anytime that a New York team has anything semi-noteworthy, it's always all over ESPN. It's like Daniel Jones did this. It's like, I don't care about. Who cares about Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones didn't throw 4 interceptions today. He only threw 3.
He's looking better. He's looking better today.
Will Danny Dimes be the next Troy Aikman? First Take blows up with it.
Yeah. They gave him enough wide receiver help this year, and yet again with fantasy football, looking at like Kenny Golladay and Tony, not knowing who to get, that was.
Slayton is actually, Slayton is sneaky good. That rookie that they signed that has all the crazy hair. I mean, that dude is sick. What you know who I'm talking, the crazy haired dude?
Ingram?
No, he's a rookie. He's a rookie receiver.
Oh, Tony. Yeah,
Tony.
Tony.
Yeah. I mean, that dude looks good. I mean,
he was the guy that the Bears were supposed to get instead of trading up for Justin Fields. Like, he was one of the guys that was like at the slot. Hey.
We'll talk about it soon, right?
We gotta wait. Yeah, we gotta wait. Is that your take already? But I gotta ask though too, just because with Mahomes and with Rodgers. So Rodgers, he's distanced his family. We all know this. Like, he just doesn't talk to his family. He's a terrible person and all that. And actually, he's no longer engaged. I don't know if you saw that too.
I saw that this morning, right?
Yeah, he lost 2 rings in 1 year. He lost no Super Bowl ring and no engagement ring. And part of me feels like maybe he's coming back now, because she talked about, one article said that he's more focused on football than her. So that might mean, it's like, it's kind of his profession. Like, I don't mean to defend Rodgers, but
I guess the true question is he still immunized? Or has that changed too? Did he get separated from being immunized too?
I don't know. I want to say, knowing him, he's probably still like immunized. He just with the SPs, just seems like with the corduroy.
It just seems like if you were super focused on being a football player and a football player only, you would do this is the Kirk Cousins thing that bothers me too. Like, if your only focus is on football, why wouldn't you just take the vaccine and make sure that you're available for football?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not making a stance either way on vaccinations. I'm vaccinated. I'm happy to be vaccinated, but I'm not taking a stance at all. Just don't tell me that you're all about football if you aren't going to do the simple thing that makes sure that you're available on Sundays. Just don't do that, right? Just don't do that.
Yeah, because if you're vaccinated, what was the penalty? Like, if you're vaccinated and you get COVID,
all you have to do is just test negative.
Yeah, and then if you're not vaccinated,
it's 10
you're
days.
Gone 10 days. Yeah,
10 days. Yeah,
and it's like, and then Rodgers is like, well, that's a stupid rule. Like, we're not here to talk about if it's stupid or not. That's the rule. And like,
I think there's a lot of stupid rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like I should have to pay taxes. I think taxes are stupid. Am I going to drive on the roads tomorrow? Hell yeah, I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't mean I want to pay taxes. I think that's stupid.
Yeah. Don't need to. I shouldn't. But I got and yeah, like all the other rules. Taunting, stupid rule, but it's a penalty. The completion of the catch, stupid rule, but it's like sometimes you see a catch and you're like, that is a drop, but based on the rule, it's a catch, or that's a catch based on the rule, it's a drop. But yeah, I don't know what he's up to. But so, anyways, going back to it, Aaron Rodgers distanced his family. Do you want Patrick Mahomes to distance his family with Jackson Mahomes? And I don't even know his wife's name, but I can just picture her in my head, just the craziness of the Mahomeses.
So this is actually like I'm a huge nature documentary person. Like I don't like watching sitcoms or like movies really. I like watching like nature documentaries. I just love them. I don't know why. And currently I'm watching Earth, and Earth is it has Will Smith in it. And one of the episodes I watched last night was about in the Great Barrier Reef. There's this tiny, tiny, tiny little island, and it's like a really famous island because like there's a bunch of birds that go like exclusively nest there, and then sea turtles actually exclusively nest there. Green sea turtles, and it's not big. It's like it's basically it looked to be about the size of a football field. It's not very big.
Yeah.
And with that being said, if we could just send Patrick Mahomes' brother there for a couple 10, 20 years. I mean, he's got friends. There's turtles. There's some birds.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great landing spot for him. I just think from all the stuff that I've seen from that guy, I just feel like he would be best suited for a nice island on the other side of the world. Great Barrier Reef. Beautiful this time of year, I heard. Summer down there. It's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just burn the boat when we're done.
Yeah, just scratch out the captain's log of like where it was and everything. Be like, I don't know where the captain went.
So hopefully I didn't go on too long of a tangent there, but that dude just seems like a straight clown. I mean, walking into a tiny little diner saying, "Do you know who I am?"
Oh yeah,
that's strong. I mean, look, I get it. Like there is nothing more satisfying than walking up to somebody and just saying, "I'm sorry, do you know who I am?" It's a great power move. Great move. Great move. But I think he outlasted his stint in Kansas City.
It's that feeling when like if you know somebody famous or like even like semi-famous, you're like, I want to tell this person that I know someone, and he just wants to have everybody know. Do you know who my brother is? And it's like, you have done nothing. He's just been on TikTok. He's famous for being annoying. He's for being obnoxious.
Yeah, he's built a brand around being a I won't say the word I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So we have a term in pool. It's called a nit. He's made a brand off being a nit. And basically, if you could imagine what a nit is, it's exactly right. And that's basically what he's done. Yeah.
He's the LeVar Ball of brothers, where, he's just like, you want to root for his team to lose, even though that it's nothing against Patrick Mahomes. It's everything. Like after the Chiefs lost, the internet was like, Jackson Mahomes is not going to go to the Super Bowl. Not Patrick Jackson, but that's so at least,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And you know what? At least he's not a Bear, because Jackson Mahomes I would wish that he was a Bear. Not gonna lie.
I was gonna say.
But so besides this, Kansas City. So speaking of Kansas City, a former executive is now the Bears GM. So Ryan Poles is now the new Bears GM. He's talking about building in the trenches. Did you know anything about Ryan Poles before he came over, or while he was at Kansas City, or just an executive? So don't really know.
No, I would be lying if I said I did. I mean, if you look at some of, if you just look at who's on the Rams right now, I mean, there's a ton of talent, and most of it has came through the draft. I mean, we didn't sign. I mean, maybe I shouldn't even say this because I feel like I could be wrong, but I don't think we signed Travis Kelce. I don't think we signed Tyreek Hill. We certainly didn't sign Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I know we signed like the Honey Badger. I mean, but even that, I mean, we've built through the draft for the most part, and at least at the skills positions. I mean, I think honestly, I think we could. It's early still, but I think it looks like we missed on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So that's. But I don't think we got him super high up in the draft either. So I might be wrong on that one too. But
yeah.
I mean, if you look at the decision, I mean, if you look at the way the team's been built, I mean, the Packers have flopped on so many draft picks that it's.
Jordan Love.
Well, I'll say this: my wife is a huge Packers fan, and so
My
therefore,
apologies.
actually, ironically, the actual team of my childhood was
Yeah.
the St. Louis Rams. That was actually
Really?
the first Super Bowl that I ever watched was 2000, the Greatest Show on Turf. Yeah, so that was like,
that was mine too. Yeah.
yeah. So like I was a Packer fan at the time. So I was a Packer fan at the time, but that was like the first Super Bowl that I actually watched. My
Yeah.
parents never let me stay up late enough for them. So like I'm watching that, and I just fell in love with Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. And I remember one play where I'm sure you'd never know, but Orlando Pace was the left tackle for the Rams that year, and I remember watching on a running play, like he ran up to a linebacker, picked him up, and like did like one of these things and like drove him into the ground, and I'm just like,
that
guy's
cool.
good. Like, I'm pretty sure the guy he just tackled might be dead, but that guy's really good.
That guy,
turns out he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Turley on the other side. I mean,
yeah,
it's a good team.
Yeah, and Orlando Pace, former Bear for like a year at like the very end of his career. when he's like, he's in hobbled and just ready to leave. But one question that I do want to ask, just because with Ryan Poles, so Ryan Poles was, a lot of people actually give him credit for rebuilding the Chiefs offensive line this year. Did it seem like it was actually a good job? I didn't watch too much of the Chiefs, but do you feel like the offensive line, at least this year, was at least orchestrated a little bit better and put together nicely?
Well, of course, being in Wisconsin, a lot of my friends, basically all my friends at this point, know that I'm a Chiefs fan. And at the beginning of the year, they're kind of like poking at me, like, how good are those Chiefs now? You know, you can't get back to Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all 5 of their players on the line are brand new. And I'm like, and I said this to actually Andy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people know who Andy is on the show, but
no.
Okay.
One of my friends. Yeah.
He is the lead singer of your band. Anyways. So I told, like, he sent me a message. I think it was when the Chiefs were like 2-4 or 2-3 or something like that. He's like, you worried about the Chiefs yet? I'm like, if by week 10 they're 5-5, I'll be worried. You have an entirely brand new line. If there's one like grouping in the entire industry of sports that takes chemistry to work together, it's the offensive line. I can't imagine anything. Maybe I'm wrong somewhere, but like, you can sink or swim with the chemistry of an offensive line. And honestly, like, I figured it would take them a while to get working, and they kind of had 2 games back to back where they like snuck out a win against Jordan Love, and then they barely snuck out a win the next week. I want to say against, it might have been the Jets. I mean, it's just some bad team, and they're like, they barely eked out the win. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see after this. And then they just went on a tear where they just destroyed everybody. And it took a Herculean effort out of Joe Burrow in week 17, I believe, to beat the Chiefs. And at the end of the day, it's just like, that offensive line looked really good halfway through the season. And, he's, I mean, the running, they obviously, either they can't run block, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a bad running back, one of the two. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes wasn't getting sacked a lot. So I think honestly, like, if revamping that offensive line is the calling card as to why he got hired, I think it's probably a good move just right then and there.
Yeah, and I totally agree with your point with the offensive line, just because I've always heard how some former offensive linemen, they said that they had this unspoken language. Like, they knew what everyone was doing. Like, they'd go out to a bar and they kind of had like that they knew what everyone was doing, just because they built this chemistry of, you have to know where that person is to the side of you and what they're doing. And and like, especially with run blocking too, though, you do really need that chemistry to all move the wall together. So it makes sense that at the beginning, at least, not the best, but then throughout the throughout the games, then just getting better and better and better. So Nate, we gotta move on to the Bears now officially. So with this Bears, as you might have heard, with Eberflus, or Flus, you can just call him, easier to say. But we have a new head coach, we have a new staff, and a lot of us, like I said, we're getting a little bit optimistic about what's going on. I guess, what is your just initial take on the Bears and what's going on with the team?
All right.
This isn't a good start.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not a believer in Justin Fields. And I know the offensive line is maybe the worst in the, well, I guess I can't say that when Joe Burrow sits on his butt about 7 times a game. I mean, the Bears have a bad offensive line. They really, really do have a bad offensive line. And, maybe Poles coming in, maybe he's going to be able to help with that. He obviously did it with the Chiefs, but I just don't see how the Bears make the playoffs next year. They don't. Let's say they revamp the entire offensive line. Let's say he comes in, Poles comes in and revamps the entire offensive line. Going back to the conversation we just had, I mean, do the Bears have the depth and the talent on their roster that the Chiefs have, or even close enough to where they can afford starting out the season 3-6, 3-5? Do they have the talent on the roster to be able to start out 3-5, and then turn the season around once the offensive line starts gelling? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of depends entirely on the division, right? Because the Lions are still going to suck.
Yeah, like always.
Yeah, they're always going to suck. I mean, the Packers, if Jordan Love is, at the helm, which I personally think he will be, I don't see how Aaron Rodgers stays there. I don't see why the Packers would want to keep him. He's got one year left on his deal. I just don't see how they don't have that. I mean, they're already like $40 million over the cap or something stupid like that. And of course, you can do a lot of crazy things and move money around here and blah, blah, blah. But is Aaron Rodgers going to stay there if Devontae Adams doesn't stay? I just don't see it. I don't see it. And he could play under a cap or under the tag, but is he going to want to play under the tag? I mean, is 27 or 28 million, whatever it's going to be for a wide receiver, I would assume it's going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Is $27 million for 1 year worth risking when he could go somewhere tomorrow and make 120, if not more?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I guess I just don't see how Aaron Rodgers stays. I just don't. I mean, I feel like the Packers are going to have to trade him in the offseason, and wherever he gets traded to, I just honestly see Devontae Adams following him. I don't know why he wouldn't. They obviously already have a chemistry. Why would you want to start over? Unless he goes to, I don't know, the Bears, then maybe Devontae Adams will. Sorry.
Hey, Devontae's actually he's friends with some Chicago Bears players. So some rumors are, and actually we have the offensive coordinator from, or our offensive coordinators from Green Bay. So there's been some really quote unquote insiders saying that there's a connection between the Packers and the Bears. But
I'll say this. I always thought Allen Robinson was a number one, like not a good number one, but a solid number one.
Agreed.
I don't know what happened last year, but if you could get Allen Robinson as a number 2, like good luck. Good luck to all those defenses. Good luck.
So I don't know if you've heard the conspiracy theory around Allen Robinson. You might have at least once, but the conspiracy theory is that Allen Robinson or the Bears purposely tanked and purposely did not throw him the ball last year because they wanted to just get back at him for all the contract negotiations. Sounds insane, but this is what a lot of our
Bears.
Yeah.
To be clear, it sounds like the Bears, doesn't it?
That's just our historic franchise where we've just never had a 4,000-yard passer ever.
I heard I heard you guys just like kicked a bunch of footballs at that kicker's car too, didn't you? A couple, like the GM just started kicking footballs at his car.
I wish Cody Parkey. Double
Yeah, Cody
doink.
Park. Yeah. Double doink. Yeah.
Yeah, there was after he missed that field goal, one bar said, I think it was like a lifetime supply of beer if you could hit a
Oh,
43-yard field
I
goal.
remember it. I saw it, and everybody missed it. Like
Yeah.
70,000 people went and kicked it and missed it.
Yeah, even there was like I think a collegiate kicker too that went out there, and I mean it's in an alleyway and snowy and stuff, but still, it just showed like, yes, we're all pissed off at the guy.
Super tough kick. It's the double. Like if he'd have just straight up missed it, it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. But the fact that it went double doink, like that's everything. Yeah.
Yes, especially since that was the entire year. But yeah, it's
who's counting?
Yeah, exactly. Who counted the 8 doinks? I don't know if it was actually 8, but it seemed like it was 8, at least. But so you also brought up Justin Fields. Now I'm afraid to get into this because you're going to crush my hopes and dreams, but we got to hear it. So you're not the biggest fan of Justin Fields, it sounds like?
I just don't see anything. I mean, to be clear, I don't see anything from any of the quarterbacks this year. I mean, there was a lot of talk at the beginning of the year that this was going to be the best draft class since whenever. And Trey Lance, like I saw some things. I mean, that dude is fast. He's quick. He's got moves. Can he throw the ball? Mac Jones. I mean, sure, he looked decent. I mean, he looked composed, but I mean, they won a game when he threw the ball 3 times. So it's like, Bill Belichick, of course it was windy and it was snowing and whatever. I was actually in London for that game. I was in London for that game, and I woke up in the middle of the night to, go to the bathroom, and I'm looking down at my phone. I think that was a night game. I think it was like a Sunday night game.
Yeah. And
it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or something like that. And I'm in this hotel bathroom, just, whatever. And, that's in case you were wondering,
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. And I look down at my phone and I'm like, Mac Jones, 2 for 3 for 17 yards. Oh, cool. That's the game just started. Wait, 4th quarter with 2 minutes left. What?
Yeah.
Did he die? Like what?
What happened? Is it one of those COVID games where like somebody got COVID and then he got injured? Yeah, I was the same way too. It was like, what? Really?
I'm thinking like he got injured and it's like, oh, that's sad. He got injured right away. Oh no, it's nobody else has thrown a pass. Like, how many rushing attempts do they have? 40? What?
It was nuts.
But like, I mean, it's at the end of the day, like Mac Jones, I mean, he looked the best of everyone, but
yeah.
Whatever. The Jets guy, I don't know. Is he still in the league? I feel like he got cut already, and he's like working at Chipotle or something.
It's the Jets. He's going to crash and burn most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year. I mean, last year's quarterbacks were good. I mean, they look to be the real deal. Obviously, Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Say whatever you want about Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he looked good. I mean, when he was out there and he was healthy, he was injured in the beginning of the season, and he was injured for like maybe 4 weeks or something like that early in the season. They started out 1-7, and then they won the next 8 straight games. I mean, I don't know too many bad quarterbacks, terrible quarterbacks who, win 8 straight games. But I guess all this is going back to I just don't believe in any of the quarterbacks this year. I think Justin Fields I thought he looked scared in the pocket a lot of times, and of course, what was the quarterback a couple years ago? Was it Josh Rosen that said he was seeing ghosts?
Oh, Sam Darnold. Yeah, Darnold.
Was it Sam Darnold?
Yeah, the former Jets guy.
Yeah. He said he was seeing ghosts. I mean, even if you are, I mean, this is one bad thing about like actually football players is like you want them to be honest and you want them to speak their mind, but when they do it and it's not what you want to hear, you just rip them apart. And like, if the dude's seeing ghosts, he's seeing ghosts, right? But like, he got just torched the next week, and he's like, man, it's like, how do you want them to open up if you're gonna kill them like that? It's just, but I mean, and the one Jets guy who he played one game and he threw like Mark White. Was it Mark White that he threw like 4 touchdown passes and talking about how he's the greatest thing and he should have went number 1 overall and The next game he threw 5 interceptions and was benched in the third quarter.
And honestly, you bring up a good point. I totally forgot just how hyped up this quarterback class was, because you had the greatest prospects since Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence. Then you had
he was I didn't even bring him up. He was garbage.
Yeah,
I mean, he's playing for the Jaguars, but
when your coach is out there grinding on girls and stuff, and or bartenders, as Urban Meyer was, and but yeah, it was definitely abysmal. And you mentioned this too, where the Bengals offensive line was trash. We beat them in the number of sacks given up, I'm pretty sure, because they had the most sacks overall in like the playoffs included, but I'm pretty sure we had the most sacks given up. He was sacked 36 times, I know for sure. I don't know why I remember that number, but he was sacked 30.
Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow was sacked almost 60 times this year.
Because I think including playoffs, he was 70 times. But yeah, now we gotta look this up.
Yeah, like real-time fact checking. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do we have with this? Because yeah, it is everybody. It's that rattleness in the pocket for sure that he was getting a little antsy. But do you think though, from if he has an offensive line around him, because I think that what a lot of people are hoping for is if you get him an offensive line, if you get this non-conspiracy theories on wide receivers out there, this person, he should be better. Do you buy it? And also, did you find the stat?
I did. So the Bears was 58, the Ravens was 57, and the Bengals were 55. So that means that Joe Burrow was sacked 15 times in 4 games. You think he's glad the playoffs are over? Jeez. So let's go back, I guess, to Did the Bears have a tight end? Not really, right?
Komet, solid,
not good. He's
not great. Yeah,
I don't know if I'd go a solid. I mean, he's an NFL tight end. Let's put it that way. Do they have skill set or skill receivers? I mean, I thought Allen Robinson was a boss. Like he's not an elite number one, but he's a good number one, like a very good number one. He looked terrible. I mean, Marquise Goodwin, I think I think he's year number 2. I mean, he's fast. Can he hold on to the ball?
And here's another thing too. The only wide receiver we have on contract right now for next year is Darnell Mooney. He's the only guy. Everyone else is not on contract.
Who'd you say?
Darnell Mooney.
One more time for the people in the back.
Come on. He broke 1,000 yards this year. Come on, man. Don't do him like that.
I still don't know how, because I just don't feel like Justin Fields even threw for 1,000 yards.
Hey.
All right. I'm having
Come on.
No. It's actually no, but this is my point. Is actually when you go to honestly, I think Tyreek Cohen is dude. If he could stay healthy, that dude is liquid ice. I mean, he's fast. He's good.
Yeah.
Like the problem is the first year he was really good, but then he didn't stay healthy. His second year, I think this is his 3rd year. Or is this his 4th year?
This is his this will be his 4th year because he tore his or actually it might be even like his 5th, because he signed a contract extension. It might even be like his 5th or 6th. He tore his ACL 2 years ago and just hasn't been able to come back. So that's really
hard injury, man.
Where he's been. Yeah, for sure.
But David Montgomery, I mean, he's a great running back. I think he has the potential to be a 1,300 yard rusher. I don't see a reason why he couldn't be. If you go back to 2 years ago, Allen Robinson, and you pair him up with David Montgomery, and you throw in Tyreek Cohen, and you'd like to have Tyreek Hill, I bet. But you throw in, Cole at tight end. You're not in terrible shape.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, like, is Justin Fields in a bad position? I mean, the offensive line is terrible. We know that. And, maybe that, Poles comes in and he kind of revamps it, and after week 7, 8, 9, whenever they have a little bit of chemistry, time to get together, maybe they'll turn into a line that's can protect him, and then we'll get a clear view as to what Justin Fields is and what Justin Fields can be.
Yeah,
I think that they need to get another wide receiver in there to help him out. If Allen Robinson doesn't step up and be who we've seen in the past, how great would it be to throw somebody in there like Michael Thomas is looking for a place next year?
Oh,
he's not trying to go back to the Saints. How great would that look?
I forgot about that. Yeah, slant boy.
Yeah. I mean, he's a couple years away from 140 catches or something like that. He's 2 years removed from that. How great would he look in that Bears office to find out exactly what Justin Fields is? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it's nice to think about if you want to find out about Justin Fields.
Yeah, you gotta I definitely agree with that. Like, yeah, you need receivers to be able to throw the ball. Speaking, talking about Joe Burrow, you saw that with Joe Burrow. You saw the chemistry. You saw the ability to connect with his receivers.
And bad brother.
Oh yeah, he might have been Joe Burrow might have been getting the snot kicked out of him, but Chase is a keeper for sure.
I would have never thought that they had the best wide receiving duo, or trio in the league. When you look at like a team like there was probably 3 Hall of Famers, or at least 3 potential Hall of Famers on the Bucs.
Yeah,
and I don't know that I would take them over T. Higgins, Chase, and Tyler Boyd. I don't know that I would.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I don't know that. That's a really, really good trio.
That's a hot take, but it's valid. It's definitely valid, because he's not going to do an Antonio Brown and storm off and take off his shirt.
No. At least not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But I still think at healthy, I still think the Rams have the best trio. Of course, Robert Woods and Odell Beckham Jr. never played together, but if you take Robert Woods, Odell Beckham Jr., and Cooper Kupp, I mean,
that's true. That's
good luck scheming for that.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's where you do need the trio. You do need, or just like other weapons to be able to spread the ball to, because you talked about Fields not being able to, feeling a little rattled when you don't have wide receivers that are open, or you're not throwing to a reliable receiver as reliable as like a Allen Robinson, what he was. It's hard. But flipping over to this defense, do you still, when you think of this defense, do you still feel like it's kind of that eliteness? Do you think it's kind of washed away a little bit? What's your feeling as just an observer of football?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the Bears have always had the luxury of playing at Soldier Field, and those conditions are hard to play in. So, on top of the Bears defense always being good, and I'm not going to go on and say that the 85 Bears' defense was aided and they were what they were because of Soldier Field. But, when you have swirling 40 mile an hour winds, generally speaking, as a regular thing, that's super tough to play in. That's super tough to throw, especially if you're coming up from Florida, you're coming up from California. Now, again, I'm not saying the 85 Bears defense wasn't good, because that's probably the best defense of all time.
There you go.
And you throw in, I shouldn't even say probably. There's a couple really good Giants defense, a couple really good Ravens defense. But
yeah,
I mean, for my money, they're the best all time. And on top of that, you're going to throw in, 30 mile an hour gusts, 20-degree weather. It's
terrible
tough to play in that. So, I mean, there's got to be a reason why the Bears have never hired an offensive guy, right? At head coach, they hire their offensive coordinators to be defensive minded. I swear it. I swear it. The Bears refuse to hire an offensive guy, and of course, I'm being a little bit, silly, but I mean, even Fluss or whatever. What are we calling him? Flus?
Flus, yeah.
We're calling him Flus. Okay.
Yeah. Flus.
I mean, even Flus he's a defensive guy, and he was a good defensive guy. I mean, the Colts defenses looked amazing, really good.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Carson Wentz. You want to talk about a dumpster fire? they dragged that guy to. Oh my! How do you lose to the how do you lose to the Jaguars in the last week of the season to miss out on the playoffs?
Yeah, that's what we're nervous about, because everyone's saying that the defense did a big choke job. And whose defense is that? The Flus.
Well, it doesn't help that Carson Wentz scored 3 points, 6 points.
Yeah,
was it 6 points?
I don't.
I think it was 6 points. I feel like they lost like 6 to 20 something. You know. Anyways, I mean, you still got Robert Quinn. How well is he going to be? You know, he's getting way up there in age. He's got to be in his early to mid 30s now. He seems like he's been in the league for forever.
Yeah, I think he's 32, maybe. Yeah, early 30s.
Yeah. Khalil Mack, where's he at? I feel like he had like the most dominating performance of any player that was traded for in an 8-week stretch, and then hasn't. You know, there's like an APB out for him now. It's like, where's this guy at? Is he still on the roster?
He is. He's been banged up. That's been the biggest thing, is he's been knocked up and banged and bruised, but then he just had he had 7 sacks, I think, in 8 games or like 6 games. I forgot what the injury was. Like, he banged up something with his leg, and that's been the story. Is he had, like, to your point, he had the amazing weeks, defensive player of the year. Everyone was saying it. He got injured, and then the next year got injured, and then this year got injured. So it's really been just injuries for him, and he's just been playing through injuries that should be getting him knocked out, but instead he's trying to play, but he's getting injured is the easiest way to put it.
I mean, honestly, I haven't seen much of him play for the last year or so, but I mean, I have to assume he's still a boss. I mean, Von Miller, I mean, I don't know. Von Miller just went to the Rams, and he had a little bit of a resurgence. Who knows? I'm not trying to say get rid of Khalil Mack, but I'm like, you know, there's a couple players that are going to be out there on the cheap that they could end up bringing in if they need the help. I think the Bears are always defensive minded, and bringing in an offensive or a defensive coach now, I have to assume that, you know, they're going to be focusing there too. But I guess let me ask you this, as the actual Bears fan here, where do you think your draft capital is best spent this year? Do you think it's on the defensive side of the ball, or do you think you need to get some weapons?
I am a believer in you draft best available player. You always should do that.
You draft Michael Jordan and start him at center.
Exactly. You draft the GOAT. But no, with the drafting the best player available, I always think of Aaron Donald for the Rams, because it was picked 1 pick before the Bears, and every mock draft had Aaron Donald going to the Bears. And it was like, well, the Rams don't need defensive interior guys. They get Aaron Donald, arguably the best defensive player of our generation. Like, he's been insane and
arguable.
Is this another flat out? Is JJ Watt is up there, man?
Oh, JJ Watt's back as a boo-boo. He's one giant boo-boo. Now, if you want to give me TJ Watt is on track to be, or Joey Bosa or something like that, but JJ Watt he can't shine. He with his injury record. I mean, he had 3 years where, like, you couldn't block him. Aaron Donald has now had like 6 or 7. I mean, Aaron Donald is a man amongst boys. That last play, did you watch that last play of the Super Bowl? Basically,
just
the guy tries to block him, and he's just like, "Yeah, why don't you go over there while I run by you now?" And he's just like, "Okay."
Well, there's the answer of the Von Miller resurgence. When you have that guy that's fighting off triple teams,
when you're no longer getting double teamed every single play, right? Because the other guy has to be triple teamed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even when Mac was in, he was kind of doing some of that. Like, he was getting double teamed a lot. He still has that presence to him. But yeah, like with the draft though, I am try to go for best player available. I don't think, yes, you still have like need in mind, but you need to find those people. And I also really like what Ryan Poles actually talked about. He actually brought up too, you should draft someone if you know you can't get someone like later on. So like, if the talent gap at wide receiver is, here's this elite group of people that are like first round talent, and then the talent just drops off to the 4th round. And that's where the Packers have sucked with, is they go, we need a corner. So we're just going to draft this. We're just going to draft the top person on the board instead of just going, hey, this is the best person available, and that in a semi spot of need that could potentially drop off. So I want them, though, to go defense just because I want to see speed. I want to see young people. They're all about speed this year. So I just want to see some fast guys that are just flying around. So, yeah.
I mean, two things. If I'm Justin Fields and I don't see a revamped offensive line, or at least 2 picks picked on offensive line, I might just pack up and go. I might be calling up the Jets and being like, hey, I heard it's not working out with Mark White over there. I'll only throw 3 interceptions for you if you come sign me. Like, well, you know, at the end of the day, like you got to get some offensive linemen, right? You have to, whether it's free agency or whether it's you know, through the draft. You got to get him somebody, right? You can't let him get sacked 58 times.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, hopefully you're signing people, and you're signing some free agents to bring in to kind of bolster it, and then kind of just adding some picks to essentially kind of grow it. There's been talks of Chris Olave, the former Ohio State receiver, could maybe go down there, and then the Bears could maybe pick him up just to get that Jamar Chase, but chances of that actually happening, very low. But we will see. But I got to ask, though, Nate, so we've talked a little bit about the Bears, just to kind of put a cap on it, though. How many wins? Obviously, you don't have the schedule in front of you. If you had to predict, they haven't done free agency. They haven't done anything else, really. What's your feeling with the number of wins they could potentially get out of this team with a Justin Fields, with Khalil Mack, with Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, all those people out there?
If we can assume health. So of course, everything starts and stops with health, and with the Bears, that seems to be kind of a hard thing to assume, because it seems like, for whatever you want to say about the Bears, like, they seem to get beat up more than any other team. It just seems to be the case. You know, whether it's quarterback, whether it's wide receiver, whether it's running back. I mean, when was the last time David Montgomery played more than like 6 games in a row? When was the last time you even remember seeing Tariq Cohen on the field? You know,
that is true.
I am still remembering back to, was it Zach Miller a couple years ago, your tight end?
Ooh.
I'm still remembering back to that gruesome injury. That, oh man, I've never seen a leg.
It was a touchdown. And they kept having to show the replay, because that's, of course,
they did. Yeah. Well, because on top of it, it was like a bang play, and they didn't know if he held on to it or not. So you had to
and they had to see the whole thing, and then you're just like, oh God.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can start. Again, this is like so much harder this year, because I honestly do not think Aaron Rodgers is going to be in that division.
Yeah.
I don't. So I'm going to assume health. I'm going to assume that Aaron Rodgers will not be in that division. And
you got the Vikings, you got the Lions, and you don't even have to do wins. Do you think they're going to win the NFC North?
No, I think it's crazy to think that the Vikings basically have an easy path to the NFC. I mean, and with that being said, nothing is easy for Kirk Cousins. He dogs it more than me. He dogs it worse than me when the pressure's high. Like, that's saying something. It's hard to dog things more than I do. But like, he'll probably find a way to lose it. But I'm telling you what, Justin Jefferson, woo, that boy's.
Oh yeah, he's the real deal. He's the real deal, man.
You know, Dalvin Cook. I mean, oof. I mean, on paper, the Vikings are supposed to win the division. Again, I'm assuming that Aaron Rodgers won't be there. If Aaron Rodgers is there, all bets out. You know who's winning the division. Sorry.
Yep.
You know, they'll finish with 13. They'll finish 13-4, and the Packers will win it. They'll go to the NFC Championship. They'll dog it like Kirk Cousins in a regular season and me in a national championship.
Yep.
So, but we're assuming no Aaron Rodgers. I think the Bears could win it. Could win the division. Maybe. You know, it might be an NFC East thing. It might be. Honestly, it might be 8-7 wins the division. It might be. Or, I guess 9-8. I guess now that we have the extra game, 9-8 might win the division. Do I think it's as bad as the was it the Rams that won, or the Seahawks that won 2 years ago, 7-8-1. I don't think it's that bad with how pathetic that division is. I mean, the Lions are still basically 2 wins. The Packers might be 2 wins, and they'll probably split with the Vikings. So you're looking at 5 wins before you even start anything else.
Yeah.
You know what? To be honest with you, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it a lot, because I would love to see the Packers lose Aaron Rodgers, who I now like root against so hard. But
there you go.
Because the Packers keep like cowtailing to him and just letting him get away with everything. And I get it. I mean, what are you going to do? Say no to Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I just don't like I used to like Aaron Rodgers and admire Aaron Rodgers. And now it's to the point now where it's like, I see why your family hates you.
Yeah, exactly.
I see why. It's so clear to me now. It's like, with that being said, you're so good.
Yeah.
You're so good, though. You are so good.
Exactly.
Like, it would just kind of be nice if for like 1 year, just 1 year, the Packers just have to like just suck because they just gave in to him so many times.
Yep.
So it'd be nice to see the Packers kind of get their butts kicked for a year. The Lions, I mean, I don't even know what to say about the Lions. I mean, I just feel like, honestly, I think we should just find the best rugby team in like Australia and just be like, hey, Lions, you go over there for a little while. We're going to bring this team over and see how they do. And just see. They don't even have to put on their pads. Like, they could just come over and they could play with their normal pads and it'll be fine. And honestly, like, I just think they'll do fine. I just don't think that the Lions need to be here anymore. And, worst case scenario, they could take the Jets with them and probably the Giants too.
The Jags.
Just take them all.
Yeah. You take those 4 teams.
But honestly, I think this is where I don't know if you're a soccer guy in the US. I don't know if you are or not, but this is where I honestly think the Premier League crushes it. Like, if you could create 2 tiers, like, are you familiar with the Premier League?
Nope.
Okay, so the Premier League has like a certain number of teams that are in it every single year, and what it is like the bottom 4 teams could like get relegated. They could, and relegated basically means they're kicked out of the league. They're gone. That's it. All of these are like clubs. They're not like teams. They're like clubs. So to become part of the club, each club will have like several levels of players. So they'll be like, the top tier of their club, and then they'll have a tier underneath that, and they'll have a tier underneath that, and they'll have a tier all the way down to like the junior levels. Yeah. And as you get better, you move up through the ranks of your individual club. And then eventually, if you make it to the one everybody knows about, the Manchester, Liverpool, stuff like that, you're on the highest level team. But like each club has the possibility of getting relegated, which basically means you're kicked out of the Premier League and you're down to some lower tier thing. How amazing would it be if instead of like 32 teams, we had even like 20, keep 32, whatever. But there's like another XFL or something like that, where like the XFL comes in and the top, whoever wins the XFL and the team that makes it to the finals kicks out the 2 lowest teams. And if you have ties, like there's the Super Bowl, and then they have like the Super Toilet Bowl after that, and like the loser of that gets kicked out and the winner of the XFL gets put in. How awesome would that be? Tell me that wouldn't be amazing.
They talked about it with like Alabama. They're like, Alabama is better than some of these NFL teams. And some people are like, are they? Like,
no,
and
that's always dumb.
You could do that.
I mean,
it's
a fun conversation, but like you have a bunch of kids that are like in college, and you have people that are feeding their grown family. They're grown men feeding their families. Like if Alabama played the Jets would beat them by 50. Like, there are levels to this, but
exactly.
At the same time, like it's a fun conversation to have, right? It is a fun conversation to have, and I think that'd be an amazing thing. Like the Jets and the Jaguars, winner gets the number 1 overall pick. Second place is the winner of the Toilet Bowl, and they're out of the league for a year. Detroit
would just be like, I guess we're not having a team this year. So it's going to be just Detroit and the Jags just constantly. It'll at least.
Hey! Do not discredit the Giants, and do not discredit the Jets.
The Jets
too. All right.
The Jets. Hey, the Giants will be pesky. The Giants will be like right on the cuff. I feel the Giants are going to be on the cuff for these.
I don't know. I feel like that team is more of a dumpster fire than any of them right now.
Real, because Daniel Jones, they do have the Bears first round pick as well, which is number 7. So they have 2 super high picks. So they might get one of these quarterbacks that are seen as not the best, but but we will see. We will see what happens, and we will see if the Jets and Jags, we'll see if Commissioner Goodell is listening, a friend of the pod, ally of the pod. He's probably listening and going, you know what? I've been meaning to kick out those teams eventually. So now he's got a new plan to put into frame. But Nate, thanks again so much for hopping on. We got to wrap things up, but I just gotta, before you leave, just how can people follow Cue It Up and just a little bit more about it as well?
Yeah, well, if you don't hate me enough after this past hour, and you want to just verify, sometimes you got to do things a couple times just to realize how much you hate it. If you need more content, we are at Cue It Up Network. You can find us. We're Cue It Up, a Billiards podcast is the official name of it. But if you just search Cue It Up, basically on any major podcast forum, we'll show up. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google. Basically anywhere you can find a podcast, we'll be there for the most part. And if not, and there's something that you're very, very passionate about. So apparently I have a couple listeners that were very passionate about iHeartRadio. I made sure to add it to there. I didn't even know iHeartRadio existed until then, but they have a very, very passionate following. So who am I? Don't yuck someone's yum. Whatever you want, go on. And Cue It Up Network on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. It's been a lot of fun. And Roger Goodell, you honestly, with all the headlines that have been coming out this offseason, probably might want to think about going over to Dwayne Johnson, because apparently he's trying to revamp the XFL. You might want to try to get some idea like that. You could use some good headlines.
Yeah, he could have knocked out the Washington football team, now the Commanders. He could have done that a long time ago, and he should have.
Talk about that.
Yeah, we haven't, but we got to wait till next time. But thank you again, Nate. Make sure to follow the Cue It Up Network for all those pool fans out there. And you can learn a thing or two out there as well, watching some of those live events. But also make sure to follow Unbearable Sports. Also, make sure to download the Tiki Live app. Watch on bellyup.tv at 9 o'clock Central Times on Mondays and Thursdays. Follow us and listen on wherever you get your podcasts, including iHeartRadio and Unbearable Sports Podcast. We're out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bad chick.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.